Hello and welcome to ILTV's Insider. I'm Maayan Hoffman, Executive Editor. On Wednesday, it'll be 600 days since Israel was forced into this war. Today, we're asking the hard questions. Are we any closer to victory? Have we achieved our goals, or are we just treading water? Joining me are Olga Deutsch and Gedaliah Blum. Let's have an honest discussion. What went right? What went wrong over the last 600 days? And where does Israel go from here? Olga, I want to start with you. Okay, 600 days, as I said, tomorrow. Has Israel actually achieved any of its core military or even political objectives in this war?
Well, you like to ask all the tough questions.
Remember I started.
I sadly don't think there's a yes or no answer to that question. I think that obviously militarily we have achieved a lot. We have defeated Hamas to a large extent. Having said that, have we eradicated Hamas? Of course not, as we see. And I do think that, unfortunately, we have missed some of the trains. I think everyone was very optimistic and very excited when Trump won the elections. But I think that there was a window of 3-4 months where we needed to sort of leverage and maximize the pretty much absolute support we were receiving from Washington. But the winds have changed. And I think that Trump's attention has now migrated to closing the deal in the Middle East. And unless we figure out what we want to do and how we want to be part of that deal, the concession that we will have to pay in order for us to be part of the deal will be even bigger than originally.
That makes sense. I mean, Gedaliah, piggyback on that and take it from there, because there is some truth to that Trump had said all hell could break loose, but we didn't let it break loose, and now we are, but it's not receiving the traction that maybe we thought it would.
Well, just to rewind, I have to disagree, because with the idea, where are we now 600 days after the massacre of October 7th? And I'll tell you, if we only look at Gaza, then I 100% agree with you. But Hamas is just a proxy of Iran. The actual conflict, the war, was between Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis we're still seeing, even South Africa, the ANC government. There are political proxies, not just a military campaign, it's also a political proxy. Now, where's everybody right now? Hamas is pretty much all the 52 cards of the playing cards are all out of the deck. Now we have to reshuffle and get a new deck. So there's a new leadership and new everything.
But they haven't been trained the way the old leadership was, so there will be some time till they're as strong. I mean, in that aspect. Well,
that too, fine. But even now, we don't face an existential threat from Gaza. We don't face an existential threat from Hezbollah, from Lebanon. We are having now security cooperation with the Lebanese government, trying to cut the Iranian ties out of Lebanon completely. Trump is pushing al-Jilani, whatever he calls himself today, into bringing Syria into the Abraham Accords. So where we were 601 days ago to where we are today, it's night and day. Are we successful? 100%. We are in such a better position today. Unfortunately, of course, we have the hostages, a lot of pain and suffering. I know it very well. But from a very far out, like a drone footage, we're in a very, very strong position right now. Not to say we don't have any problems. But I would disagree with it. So when you take a step out, I think that we're in a very strong position now.
Well, and it's interesting, even thinking of Hamas just for a minute to push back as well. We saw about 30,000 rockets, I think, between 2007 and 2023, and there's been, very few rockets to say, in the last year. So certainly in terms of the day-to-day threat, I mean, we just had rockets earlier this week, but the day-to-day threat seems to be coming down. But I think you're also right that Hamas is certainly still in existence, and the goal of the war, if you remember, Netanyahu came out with 3 goals. One was to annihilate Hamas. We have not done it. One was to bring all the hostages home. We have not done it.
And disarm.
And disarm Hamas and the civil society of Hamas, which is certainly still active. Only recently did we stop the aid.
I sort of want to challenge you back, Gedaliah.
Yes.
I think that, and especially on zooming out, first of all, I don't think that we are only waging a physical war. And even on that one, I can challenge you. I don't think that the real threat, which is from Iran, has really been significantly shattered. Yes, they fired a lot of rockets at us, and we successfully circumvented that. And, we exhibited an incredible international cooperation, right, in doing that. And yet, they're talking now about no nuclear weapon, but yes to nuclear proliferation. And we don't know. There's no predictability on how Trump will reshuffle the peons in the Middle East to make a bigger deal. We tend to look at things Israel-centric, but we're not the only player here. Now, but on an even bigger, if I zoom out even more, we are weaker inside. I mean, how many days can people serve in the army? I think that the hostages issue has been torturing the nation. Wherever and whatever any one of us thinks that is the right way to release them, half of the population, whatever it is, I don't know the percentages, but some will say any deal at any cost, just get them out. And some will say, no, that's not the main. Whatever it is, I think there is no closure to this until all the hostages are back. But let us just look at the political warfare that we have been subjected to that only exponentially went up. If in the beginning of the war we had pretty much a popular support around the world, even from the countries that were most critical of us, you know, that the war is right, that we have the right to defend ourselves, the world has sort of forgotten, typically, right? I'm not justifying them, I'm merely analyzing the situation, what started the war. Even when I interview with the media, with foreign media, they don't even start with mentioning the October the 7th.
Well, and I think that, Olga, part of that is also people have watched us wage a war in which, you know, accurate or inaccurate, hard to know. You know, we're talking about thousands of babies, the words, the genocide that are being used.
Let's look at the political situation. The ICC case is still lingering above our heads. The EU is currently reviewing an association agreement with Israel. All the while, a month ago, they basically had a similar meeting with PA and approved 1.6 billion euros to them, to PA, with no conditions attached to it. Right, so France and UK and Canada issued a statement. It might be an empty one, but still politically it causes us damage, calling for sanctions against Israel and actually jump-starting the settlement issue, not really not centering the hostages deal.
Gedaliah responds.
Yeah, so I mean, again, I'm going to push back a little bit. This is starting to become like a debate here. Which
That's all right. That's, I mean, you know, we all have opinions.
We respect each other and we debate. I'll tell you this, is that I have little sympathy. I don't care about world opinion. Maybe it's because I was raised and born in America where, you know, no one tells us what to do. There's a different mindset. I speak to members of Knesset all the time about American policy, and 99 out of 100 times they say, let me call my counterpart over in America and see what happens. We've been leading like dogs. We walk in front, yet we turn around all the time to see if we're going in the right direction. It's time to be a light upon the nation. The world is becoming a dark place, okay? We cannot let these dark forces dictate our own policy. This is the whole idea about being a light. And I hate to simplify it, but I think as Jews, Israelis, we try to complicate things way too much, okay? We have these dark forces that are the left, socialist, wokeism, Islamism, they're all coming together. Why? They're looking to upend what we bring into this world, this light that we're bringing into this world. And there's a war on culture. So I believe that if we listen to the loud voices coming from these dark forces, we are going to be led down into one of Hamas terror tunnels. If we become a light upon the nation, we give voice to the silent majority of people around the world who don't have a voice now. Donald Trump was that voice in America. Where's that voice in Europe? And you're seeing it come up here and there. You're seeing like a Tommy Robinson who's been called a racist forever. Now he's getting out of jail because they didn't like his speech, and now he's going to maybe they're talking about him becoming prime minister. People are begging for this voice because this culture of self-censorship and allowing the loud voices to dictate policy is over now. Donald Trump proved that, and we need to be bold here in Israel and stand up and say, you know what? No more. We know what's good for us. We are here. We're not 6,000 miles away playing armchair quarterback. This is our children going to war, and we need to do what we need to do.
But I have to push back because do we know what we need to do? What is the plan for Gaza in the aftermath? How has Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu handled this war? So
that's actually a very good question. Benjamin Netanyahu has been always a great prime minister. It's kind of like, it's like a captain of a ship in a huge storm. And you wake up in the morning and you're in the same exact place as you are, but we didn't capsize. Good job, Prime Minister. But we're not there anymore. The frustration between the U.S. administration and Israel right now is not that there's a divide, that they don't like what we're doing. We're not being bold enough for Trump. Trump is saying, be bold. I am giving you, I'm not separating from you. I'm not saying you're not part of the Houthi deals because I don't like you. You're a grown adult now. You're no longer the 51st state of the United States. We are America first. You need to be Israel first. And I believe that is the opportunity now. Bibi needs to realize that he cannot be captain of a ship in a storm. He needs to take bold action. And this is why the war is lasting 600 days.
And maybe another 600, Olga responds.
One more point. Instead of 6 days. Yeah. Because the army, like you said, everybody's tired. We are not built to fight a war of attrition. We are meant to fight a war hard and fast and go home. We're meant 6 days, not 600 days. And I believe that is the fault of the Prime Minister, because he kept turning around like the dog and seeing if we're going.
Well, I think it's the fault of the Prime Minister and the IDF upper echelon that it only knows how to fight these long wars, go in, go out, go in, go out. The same people that were in place that led to October 7th. Olga, response.
I agree. I'm going to reinvert your own argument. Like, I agree with your last comment, which is basically that Trump wants us to be much bolder. And that was my opening remark, that we missed an opportunity. What did Trump do? He said, look, you have 3-4 months, not in these words, right? But like I was saying this for months. Do whatever you need to do. We basically got a carte blanche, right? And even when he cut the deal with Houthis, he did not say, stop defending yourself. He basically said to the Houthis, I cut the deal with you. What you do with Israelis, be wary, because they're going to fire back. But we haven't really stepped up. I feel that, and I'm afraid that even our soldiers, and I don't question the morale, the Israelis will continue to go and serve in regular and reserve duty, and that is one of the most wonderful things that have sort of emerged of this past 600 days, that we have a nation across political spectrum that is ready to get up and defend its homeland. But I'm not sure that they know what are we doing there anymore. It is taking too long. And I'm not a military expert, but I do think that we should have done this quicker. There should have been a plan. And even if they don't communicate it with the broader public, there are ways of communicating that there is a plan. And I think that there's an overwhelming sentiment and feeling that there is none. And that is bad. That is bad for the morale. And I think that sends a wrong message both to Trump and him trying to basically say, be quick, be bold, because I want to close the deal in the Middle East. I don't want to. He was disruptive. He scared everyone in his first 100 days. And now he's come to make deals, right? And to show the world that he can make order sort of again. And we are either going to get on that wagon and be part of that as winners, or we're going to be tagged along and communicated passively what is going to be the price that everyone will have to pay to be part of the deal.
But not all deals that Trump is doing are real deals. For instance, the Iranian deal is not a real deal. He knows there's been red lines and they're going back and forth, and Iran is kicking the can down the road. They want to develop a nuclear weapon. And
but Iran has always wanted to develop a nuclear weapon.
But Trump is only sitting in these meetings in order to placate his own base that are isolationists, that don't want to go into war. This is my prediction. My prediction is that within a week, everybody's going to leave the table. It should have happened already. Trump is already saying, you have a timeline, you have a deadline, that's it. Israel will strike Iranian nuclear facilities. They're sitting ducks. We've already dismantled the overwhelming majority of their anti-aircraft batteries. They're sitting there. They have no defenses right now, essentially, against us. The only thing stopping us right now from hitting it is waiting until Trump exhausted the diplomatic avenue, who is able to go back to his base and say, listen, isolationists, guys, I tried. We're still together. What Israel does, that's on them. They're independent. He's already been building that. Of course, they're going to give us all the weapons we want. Of course, they're going to give us all the political support we want. But they're not going to put any boots on the ground, and that's going to give Trump the safety and security of his base to say, I am America First President, and I have fulfilled my promise.
Do you agree with that? Are we going to strike Iran?
I could not tell. I don't know. I cannot predict it. I do think it's a dangerous strategy, making this a bipolar analysis, which is just Jerusalem, Washington. I think the world is a bigger chess board. I think Israel has for decades led a US-centric foreign politics, which is U.S. is our greatest ally and most strategic one, but do not forget Europe is Israel's greatest trade partner. EU is one of the biggest funders of the Israeli academia through various programs that, should the association agreement be revised in any way, will have a direct hit. We are not talking about the economy of Israel that took a hit, which is normal, and we have done incredibly well considering everything. But I think that unless we take a broader picture, and unless we also think, and I know that for the Israeli government right now, the word "the day after" is an untouchable word, but I don't even think about the day after in Gaza per se. I think that's only, as you said, it's only a small part of the bigger picture. Unless we know what does the reality for us look like in a broader geopolitical setup and where are we going, then it is very difficult to steer the boat. Let's not forget Russia and Ukraine, which cannot be taken out of the global equation. I just came back from Europe. Europeans are only focused on Ukraine and Russia, and they're not necessarily in agreement with Trump and his approach there. And there will be a lot of moving parts there. Don't forget that Syria was done above our heads, just like the last hostage deal. There's a lot of, now could be, you could tell me that Trump is doing this to give to send a sign to Qataris and because he's a negotiator, but optics is everything in politics, right? Now, if you use it and leverage it properly, you can, behind the scenes, have very smart policies. But that's only if you have a plan.
Right, so Trump's Middle East deal and making deals he went backwards. He went the reverse way. First, you come up with policy, and then you sit down and you do an economics mission or whatever it is. He did that first, and I think he was very smart about it because he knew that they wanted money, they wanted development, and then our hope is, in which he's not going to say publicly, is that when you do business with America, there are laws there, especially when it comes to Israel, and protecting and not discriminating against. This is why I believe that we're seeing al-Jilani moving closer to Israel diplomatically and opening up conversation about joining the Abraham Accords and even bringing over Eli Cohen's records. I mean, these are things that are from Trump and from these business deals. They're seeing an opportunity for Syria to turn over a new leaf. And hopefully, I don't believe in reform of jihadists. I don't. But I do believe in the day after must be a very strong America, a very strong Israel, because we want to see the Abraham Accords become much stronger. And the only reason that it even happened was not through economics, but through military strength. We were the only ones under Biden and Obama, we're the only ones that were going to stand up against the Iranian regime. And the Gulf states knew that. So they had to come close to us.
So I want to take us back for a moment into the actual war that started on October 7th. We talk about 600 days. There were things that went right and things that went wrong, as we said. If you could pick one example of something that we missed, you said we missed the boat. Tell me where, other than this Trump issue the last few months, in the last 600 days, give me an example of what went wrong. What did we do wrong?
There's so many to choose from.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that's not a good sign, but
I think allowing the war to last this long is detrimental to us. I think historically Israel doesn't know how to wage long wars.
But I want to say something to that because, the Intifada, the second Intifada, lasted about 6 years. And we said it would take, some experts said at the time it would take that long. Most people said, no, it won't. We'll be, done and get it taken care of. But it did take 6 full years to stop the Intifada. This is 600 days. That's a lot less than 6 years.
Yeah, but we didn't move hundreds of thousands of troops, and fathers and brothers and kids from their homes and universities.
No, but people got kids killed in their homes and on buses and in restaurants.
Which were terror attacks. Here we have troops on the ground. And, I have colleagues that have been called up for the 4th time now. I think also, the whole issue of the humanitarian aid was completely mismanaged. Completely. That is not to say that we should have allowed humanitarian aid to go and flow freely into Gaza. God, no, right? I mean, if there's one group that has been talking about a systematic diversion of aid to Hamas, PFLP, and other groups, that is NGO Monitor, right? But to leave a vacuum for others to analyze what we do and what we don't do, and to allow them to assume that we're not letting humanitarian aid in, and basically allow them to assume that there is no plan of ours, basically leaves such a big vacuum that then invites the global criticism. And a lot of the recent wave, including the revision of the EU association agreement, is on the backdrop of the humanitarian aid. Now, we haven't seen clear messages from the government. So and so many trucks went in. So and so many were distributed through this and crossing through that one. So this percentage is still being stolen by Hamas, right?
Well, and this percentage should have been stopped going into the hands of Hamas probably months and months and months ago, which would have actually shifted the dynamic.
And I want to say
it's
another
a little
thing,
late for that.
And this is about how Israel wages its foreign diplomacy and foreign affairs. We also haven't showed strong enough of a hand vis-a-vis the international community, the developed countries that are paying a lot of that humanitarian aid, that are still funding Hamas.
So, Gedaliah, I want to turn to you because we are going to run out of time, and I want you to answer this question. Is Israel winning? Is Israel losing? Or are we kind of doing both at the same time? 1 minute answer.
Can I answer the last question?
Okay, also that. Go,
like
it's kind of,
The biggest problem that we had was on October 8th that we didn't go to the international community, the UN, the EU, AU, all over the place and said, we demand the opening of the border of Egypt to allow for war refugees. There's only 2 places in the world that don't allow war refugees. That's North Korea and Gaza. And we should have made this the #1 priority. We should have said, we are about to prosecute a war that is the world has never seen before. We have human shields. We have people, Hamas, using turning hospitals, schools, mosques into military centers. There's no way to prosecute this war without mass civilian casualties. Now, I think we did a lot better than anybody else would, but that's not the point. The point is where's the world now? They're telling us how many civilians we've killed. We should have put them on the front and said, you need to take them because we're about to prosecute this war. We have 7 days to get them out. And if they're not out, the blood is on Hamas and the blood is on you.
So we have 60 seconds left of this show, Gedaliah, and I want to just hear your answer, and really now 30 seconds because I'm going to want it from you too. Win or lose? 600 days. Is Israel winning? Is Israel losing?
We're kicking butt.
We're always winning. The fact that we have a country and that we have people who are willing to, for 600 days, take up guns literally or, figuratively and defend this piece of land is a victory on its own. No one's going to get us away, kick us out of here. So in a big picture, hell yeah.
Well, it's good to end on a positive note. Thank you both so much for being here, Olga and Gedaliah. That is unfortunately all the time that we do have. For more of the latest updates from Israel, make sure to subscribe to our newsletter at iltv.tv. Thanks for watching Insider. Have a safe and pleasant evening.